Submarines are the most extraordinary machines ever built. Unlike any other warship, they can disappear beneath the ocean's surface and remain there for weeks or even months without returning to port. Once the hatch is sealed, the crew enters a completely self contained world. There's no fresh air from outside, no sunlight, no quick trip back to shore. Everything the crew needs to survive, air, water, food, electricity, and even waste management, must be produced, stored, or carefully controlled inside a steel vessel surrounded by millions of liters of seawater. For the sailors on board, this isn't just a mission, it's home. They sleep, eat, work, exercise, and celebrate milestones in one of the most isolated environments on Earth. So, how is that possible? How do dozens of people survive inside a sealed submarine for months at a time? The answer lies in remarkable engineering, strict discipline, and a way of life unlike anything most of us will ever experience. Let's begin with the biggest surprise of all. Life inside a submarine is far smaller than you might imagine. The first thing that surprises most people about a submarine is its size, or rather, the lack of it. From the outside, submarines appear enormous, but step inside and you quickly realize that very little of the vessel is actually designed for people. Most of the interior is occupied by engines, control systems, sonar equipment, batteries, pipes, electrical cables, weapons, and the machinery that keeps the submarine operating beneath the sea. The remaining space is shared by the entire crew. The passageways are so narrow that two sailors often have to turn sideways just to pass one another. The ceilings are low, doors are watertight and compact. Almost every compartment serves more than one purpose. On a submarine, space isn't a luxury, it's a resource. Every square centimeter is carefully planned and used. That limited space affects every part of daily life, especially where the crew sleeps. Unlike on most ships, not every sailor has their own bed. Many submarines operate with fewer bunks than crew members, using a system known as hot bunking. Instead of assigning one bed to one person, sailors on different shifts share the same bunk. When one sailor finishes a watch and gets up, another sailor coming off duty takes their place. The bunk is almost never empty. To someone on land, the idea may seem uncomfortable, but aboard a submarine, it's simply a part of life. The bunks themselves are compact, often stacked three high, with just enough room for one person to lie down. A small curtain provides a little privacy, while a locker nearby contains the few belongings a sailor is allowed to bring. After a long shift, comfort becomes less important than rest. The constant sound of machinery, which might seem distracting to a visitor, eventually fades into the background. For experienced submariners, the steady hum of the submarine often becomes the sound that helps them fall asleep. But getting enough sleep isn't the only challenge. Without windows or sunlight, there's no natural way to tell whether it's morning, afternoon, or the middle of the night. Deep beneath the ocean, time itself begins to feel different. And that's why life aboard a submarine depends on something just as important as the vessel itself: routine. Every hour aboard a submarine follows a carefully planned schedule. Crew members rotate between standing watch, maintaining equipment, eating, exercising, and sleeping. The submarine never stops operating, so someone is always on duty no matter the time of the day. Without sunlight to mark the passing of time, sailors rely entirely on this routine. Their watch schedule becomes their clock. Meals replace breakfast, lunch, and dinner as time markers. And after a few days underwater, most of the crew stop thinking about what time it is outside. Keeping the submarine running is demanding work. But keeping the crew healthy is just as important. That begins with food. Before every deployment, The submarine is loaded with enough supplies to feed the entire crew for the duration of the mission. The amount of food is staggering. Fresh meat, vegetables, fruits, rice, pasta, canned goods, frozen food, baking ingredients, and enough snacks to keep morale high during long patrols. At the start of the mission, food is stored almost everywhere. Boxes fill passageways, supplies are stacked beneath bunks, even empty spaces between equipment are used for storage. For the first few weeks, the crew enjoy fresh food while it lasts. Bread is baked on board, fresh fruit and vegetables are served before they spoil. But as the mission continues, the menu gradually changes. Frozen, canned, and dehydrated foods become more common. Every meal is carefully planned to make sure the supplies last until the submarine returns to port. Despite the limited space, submarine food has earned a surprisingly good reputation. Many sailors say the meals are among the best in the Navy. A skilled cook can make a difficult deployment much easier, and a good meal often becomes the highlight of the day. But providing food is only part of the challenge. Every meal requires clean water, and every person on board needs oxygen with every breath. Inside a sealed submarine, these two essentials can't simply come from the outside. They have to be created on board. At first, that sounds almost impossible. A submarine can remain underwater for months, yet the crew never runs out of drinking water or breathable air. The secret lies in the submarine's life support systems. Let's start with water. Although the submarine is surrounded by millions of liters of seawater, none of it is safe to drink. The salt has to be removed first. Modern submarines use desalination systems that convert seawater into fresh water. That water is then purified and used for drinking, cooking, and other daily needs. Every liter is carefully managed because, unlike on land, there is no limited supply. Producing fresh air is even more impressive. Every crew member consumes oxygen and releases carbon dioxide with every breath. If the carbon dioxide isn't removed, the air inside the submarine would soon become dangerous. To prevent this, submarines use chemical scrubbers that continuously remove carbon dioxide from the atmosphere. At the same time, oxygen has to be replaced. Many modern submarines produce their own oxygen by splitting water into hydrogen and oxygen using electricity, a process known as electrolysis. The oxygen is released back into the submarine while the hydrogen is safely vented. In other words, the same seawater surrounding the submarines helps provide both the water and the crew drinks. In other words, the same seawater surrounding the submarine helps provide both the water the crew drinks and the air they breathe. It's a remarkable system that allows submarines to stay submerged far longer than most people would ever imagine. But even the most advanced technology can't solve every problem. There is one challenge that no machine can completely overcome: the effect of living for months without sunlight, fresh air, or the outside world. And for many submariners, that can be the hardest part of all. Life inside a submarine is as much a mental challenge as it is a physical one. For weeks, sometimes months, the crew lives in the same confined space with the same people, carrying out the same routine day after day. There are no windows, no changing scenery, no fresh breeze, no way to step outside and clear your mind. Over time, even simple things most of us take for granted, sunlight, rain, or the sounds of birds, can become things that the crew genuinely misses. That's why morale is taken seriously. When sailors are off duty, they don't just rest. They read books, watch movies, play card games or video games, exercise, and spend time talking with their crewmates. This activity help break the routine and reduce the stress of living in such a confined environment. Just as important are the relationships formed on board. A submarine crew depends on one another every hour of the day. Engineers keep the propulsion systems running. Sonar operators monitor the water around the vessel. Cooks prepare meals. Technicians maintain critical in- Cooks prepare meals. Technicians maintain critical equipment. Every role matters. When you're hundreds of meters below the surface, there's no room for carelessness and no one succeeds alone. That teamwork becomes even more important when something goes wrong. Despite being among the safest and most advanced vessels ever built, submarines are designed with one fact in mind: emergencies can happen. And when they do, the crew has only one another to rely on. That's why submarine crews spend countless hours training for emergencies long before they ever leave port. Every sailor is taught how to respond to fires, flooding, equipment failures, and other situations that could threaten the submarine. The goal is simple: react immediately, because deep beneath the ocean, there's very little time to hesitate. A fire is one of the most dangerous emergencies a submarine can face.